Today on Hero Talk.
Yay!
Did you say yay?
I like how he
Sorry.
plays.
Hey heroes, this is Darian, your resident string player.
And this is Angela, your certified brass player.
And this is Hero Talk, where we talk about real life.
And real women in music.
Hey heroes, today with us is international piano soloist and Donna ambassador Antonio Oyarzabal. He focuses on performing works by women, and his 2020 album La Muse Oubliée was given 5 stars by the BBC Music magazine and was selected as one of the top 5 best piano albums of 2021. And we are so excited to have you here with us today, Antonio. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm so excited to be with you.
Yes, we're excited to have you.
Yes, you are our first male interviewee.
Yeah, exciting times.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we're actually really excited to have you here. I think this is a really cool opportunity for people to hear about what men are doing for women in music.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel about that kind of responsibility in a way?
I don't think too much of it, or I try not to because of the pressure.
Yeah.
I just feel committed to what I'm doing and love what I'm doing, and there is so much more to be done, whether it's female or male performers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think too much of my gender, but I do think it is very important actually when taking a moment to realize that more male performers act in the same way and put a bit of care in their programming and select a little bit more diversely and join the cause, because there is so much more to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I don't think so much about whether what I'm doing has anything to do with my own gender.
Yeah, I
Any
like
sense.
that.
Yeah. I'd love to know, and our listeners as well, more about your background in music.
Yes, so I come from Spain, from a region called Basque Country in the north. And that's where I started in my school with a nun, with a Sister Cecilia, which
Nice.
felt really appropriate because of Saint Cecilia. And she gave me the most important thing, which is the love for music. And then after she passed, I carried on more seriously or professionally into conservatoires, and eventually going to Bachelor of Music, or like the uni degree, in a city called San Sebastian, which is beautiful. And then when it was time to course my master's, I was in doubt whether I should go to Paris because I had worked with a teacher from there many years, or whether I should go to Geneva, which was also attractive in Switzerland, or London. And I did all these, auditions, and eventually had to decide, okay, what do I want as a whole? Also, what the cities can offer culturally, etc. And I ended up here in London.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama and coursed my master's degree. And after that, I did another specialization called Artist Diploma.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed here.
Yeah, I was wondering, how was that change from, coming from Spain and moving to London? How did the music scene change for you?
It was a bit scary in the beginning because, also there was a bit of a language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel like I could communicate, but not like as good as other mates here. And I did feel at the beginning, okay, if I don't improve my language, I'm not gonna get nowhere near as many opportunities professionally in the institution as the others are getting. So that plus, friendships, etc., made me gradually become. But it was a bit scary, perhaps because of that. I was very fortunate to have traveled a lot when I was a kid and young, and so in that way, London didn't feel that scary. It was more the language thing.
Oh, do you have any words of wisdom for anyone who's changing location for music reasons and has language barriers?
Just just involve yourself socially as much as possible. I think that makes it really, for me, it was the groups of friends, relationships, etc. And I always say, this is like a funny thing, I always say, for me, like, when you're in a relationship, making being able to argue in another language, and like, I really want to say this thought and reply because I am in the right, and all of that makes me quicker. And that helped me a lot. Not to say that that's a piece of advice, but
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Speak your mind and be confident about it.
Yeah, that's what we're getting out of this.
That sounds much better.
I love it. So Hero is kind of, it is a baby company. It's almost a year old. How did you hear about us from so far away?
I think it was through socials,
Okay.
through the Instagram.
We're doing our job.
Yeah, and then I became very interested in what your conference was about and how attractive, appealing it all sounded. And I thought, I might be able to put a little bit of me in here if they're interested. And then I connected with Darian, and it was instantly very good connection communication-wise. And yeah, here we are.
That makes me feel good. We got our name out there.
So far too.
So that's one of the good things about social media.
Yes, true.
So one thing I also wanted to ask you about is, first off, how did you decide to pursue music and specifically focus on pieces by female composers?
Yes, it was quite a natural process. It wasn't like I woke up one day and thought I'm gonna dedicate myself to repertoire written by female or women composers, but it was more, I felt very lucky actually that despite how the atmosphere of how history of music is taught in conservatoires, or how half of history, it doesn't quite appear in the textbooks, etc., and recordings at the time also. Despite all of that, I did have very good teachers, women, by the way, that were really good in sort of including, for instance, I was 13 when I was playing pieces by Jacques Delarue at the harpsichord, because I also did a little bit of harpsichord. And then later on, I was so in love with French repertoire, with, for instance, Poulenc and Ravel. And so I was also studying Taillefer, and I was also learning some pieces by Lily Boulanger. I knew about Chaminade, for instance, from very young.
Love her.
Yeah, and so these pieces were in my repertoire. I was playing a lot of chamber music with a cellist, with pieces by, and also violist by Rebecca Clark, of course. And that piece is so mainstream, and it's one of the best pieces ever written for viola. Or, for instance, Henriette Bosman's Cello Sonata, which is this Dutch composer. She was great. And both pieces, the Viola Sonata and this Cello Sonata, are from 1919. So they had a lot in common. We put a program with that. What I'm trying to say is all of that was in my programs without me thinking whether they were written by women or not. But I am aware that I was very lucky with that. And so eventually, with realization and going more into it and with research, I decided, okay, I could do a bit more here, and I really want to do a bit more, and that's how my program became a CD, etc.
Yeah, I love this natural approach you have to programming music, and then you noticed it, and now you're bringing it into.
It was like normalized just as you as a student. I feel like that's very rare, actually, that you had such an organic what's the word, exposure to the music without really thinking about it. How does that make you feel? Does expanding the classical canon to incorporate more female composers, do you think that starts in the classroom, like when you're studying music, or do you think that starts on the stage? Because for you, it seems like it started maybe in your classroom experience as a pianist.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important in early childhood pedagogy to start including it in the most normalized manner. But we don't always get the privilege to be teaching in that way in that certain age or age group. So what I do with my students, for instance, is at the school I teach at, which is, by the way, all boys. I have like 20 boys students. They know that every year we put a concert called Unsilenced, and they're all gonna play music by women, and it is and it is a special occasion, and it will be so until it finally doesn't have to be. Right, because it's so normalized, as it should be. But in the meantime, they're also reflecting, and they're also learning a lot of this music that otherwise is not necessarily played or performed, and they are understanding how important it is to bring it to stages and learn it as they do learn their Mozart and their Haydn, and
I love that you're sharing that with your students too. That's really great.
Yeah. Well, I find it vital. Like, if we want to see change, we need to teach this.
Yeah.
And what sometimes frustrates me is that it is actually not that hard to look a little bit beyond and find all these choices of repertoire. I know finding the scores is not the easiest.
Yeah.
But we all know that here. But we're also happy to help and give tools, and
Yeah, it's great that nowadays there are more and more lists coming up of women composers and musicians.
And how do you approach new music, especially if, let's say, there's not a recording of it, or because I know you've performed music that hasn't been performed, that hasn't really been studied. How do you start that learning process?
Well, it depends. For instance, some of it comes as very precious discoveries, like this piece by Avril Coleridge-Taylor, the daughter of Samuel Coleridge-Taylor. I found it because I'm researching on British women composers at the British Library, and it's really cool because you go there and you can select so many scores and that otherwise you will never find, and all these archives, and it's very, very exciting. And in the process of that, I did find pieces like that, reflect a bit what you just said, that has never been recorded, that piece, The Nocturne by Avril Coleridge-Taylor. So for instance, that eventually I think, okay, what can I do with this? I can invest in a very good video, audio and video, and professionally release it, or else I put it on a note for future CDs. And that's what happened with my Latin American Women Composers album, which comes out at the end of this month. Exciting. It was it's so much research behind it. Yeah.
So you think it starts in the research before you even start playing it?
I think it starts with curiosity.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
I agree with that.
If you don't have that, I find it very difficult that you're gonna motivate something within you that will end up finding this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And playing it with like actual passion for the music.
Yeah. And treating it with the same love and care as you would put into a Chopin Nocturne. Yes. Because unless you give the credit to it, you need to start giving the value and the respect that it deserves. And then it actually glows and it becomes a jewel that you just discovered.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm really curious about how you perform and like your musical influences personally that have kind of developed your sound.
So as I said earlier, like I am always in love with French repertoire. I love Debussy and Ravel and Poulenc. Poulenc is probably my favorite composer. And also Taillefer, Chaminade Melbournice.
I'm really liking this taste.
Same, yeah.
I just always loved that kind of approach, and I felt very comfortable with it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if regionally, because Basque Country, where I said I'm from, is actually part Spanish, part French. So it's like, I don't know, we do have some connections because of my upbringing with this teacher from Paris as well. So that I would say studying those pieces as a repertoire and researching on that is the biggest influence.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, Antonio, we're super excited to meet you. You're coming to the Hero Conference. Darren, can you talk about a little bit what he's going to do at the Hero Conference?
Yeah, so you're going to be playing with the Hero Ensemble, which we're super excited about, and you're going to have a lecture recital. Can you tell us about what you're hoping to bring to the conference as a performer?
Right. First of all, I'm so excited to perform with Hero Ensemble. That is like the icing of the cake. And that, can we reveal the piece that it will be? Or
Yeah,
not yet?
sure. Go ahead.
So because this year is the 100th or centenary, basically, of the composer Madeleine Dring from London, we decided that it would be really cool to perform her festival overture, which sounded really appropriate, and it's so much fun to start the conference and open this big event that we are going to do all together. And it's a great chance to also honor her. Mm-hmm. It also felt really appropriate because one of the most important specialists on Madeleine Dring, Wanda Brister, works at your uni. So we take the chance to invite her, I guess, to here.
Yeah.
And then with the solo recital, I'm hoping to bring pieces from my album and perhaps from a second part to my album, which I'm planning to record in February.
Oh, sweet.
So obviously by then I would be able to select pieces from one and the other and bring something fun and very varied for sure. We can comment on the pieces, we can discuss after as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm always so happy to approach people and discuss what did they like so much about it, or what revelations came to them when listening to it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I love lecture recitals actually, because I feel like you create such dialogue with the performer. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about lecture recitals versus like a normal recital?
Well, I must say, because I'm more on the side of performing than actually giving lectures, even the name brings a little bit of
that's fair.
To it. But
throwing you into the fire.
Yes, when I remember that this is conversational and it's not about proving anything but rather sharing with everyone there, it becomes very exciting. And yeah, I'm in love with my programs and I know about them. So I would love to share everything.
I love that.
Yeah, we're happy to hear it.
I know.
Bring it on.
And like I mentioned earlier in our little intro, that you're an ambassador for Donna. When did you start working with them, and what is that like?
This was, I think, 2020, and I was in preparation for my CD. I think it was already a preparation for my album, La Muse Oubliée, but also I started compiling this sort of catalog on Instagram, trying to give this use a little bit to social media as well, as we are all on it all the time. Yes, this is a catalog on women composers, and we are on our way to 800 in the form of pin stories to the profile, which started really, really casually with just like a picture, just because I think putting a face to someone is really important as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Started like that, and it became more and more, it grew, and it has more information about them, etc. And now I also share it on Twitter. And because of all the work, Done noticed me. We started chatting and collaborating. I also helped them with something called the Big List, which is something on their website that includes over 5,000 women composers. It's crazy. And I remember I was in charge of letter C or something like that. because of all the work and my albums and my future projects that they knew of, they decided to give me the title of Ambassador of Done, and I work closely with them.
I love that. I don't know if they have any other ambassadors. Do you get to work with them if they do?
Yeah. So they have at least 10 ambassadors or something. And in fact, one of them or two of them as a team is Piano Music She Wrote, which is, I don't know if you've heard, there are two women from Canada and the US that do an amazing job in cataloging all pieces for piano written by women that are available through IMSLP. And they divide them into levels and things like that. And they make really easy access to them, but also release videos on some of the pieces. And I'm now actually a partner also with them. So as you said, we end up collaborating together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And if anyone listening doesn't know what Donna is, it's kind of like they're like almost like a hero version in Europe. They're a woman. They advocate for women in music, and they have a kind of a similar mission to what we do in a way, but way more established, been around a lot longer. But
they've been around a while, and they do quite a lot of big things on the matter. But yeah, it's a similar thing for sure.
Yeah, which I love. Maybe one day we get to work with them. Wink, wink.
Sure.
I love it.
Anything else you would like to talk about today, Antonio?
No, I'm just very excited to share with you. Sorry, I'm a bit boring.
No, not at all. No. I guess I do have one more question. What is your recording process like? You seem to record quite often. You have a number of albums because you already released an album in 2021 and you're releasing one this year. How do you stay on top of recording so often, and what does that process look like for you?
It's very difficult. For instance, at the moment, I've pushed for the Latin American Women Composers album, which was recorded in various stages last year. And that was easier because I did have the means of accessing the same venue, the same piano. Obviously, that's very important. The same ways, the same mics, same engineer, blah, blah, blah. Just divided in 3 stages. And so that makes my life easier, basically. But I'm already pushing for this album to come out because I know all the next months are so packed with things. And I'm recording in February a second part to La Muse Oubliée. And I'm now learning all the pieces like crazy. It's just a lot of hours at the piano. I wish I had another way of saying it. But,
how do you know when a piece is like ready and you're like, that was the recording? Like, what is that moment like for you?
Well, in the beginning, that took much longer. I needed not only to learn them and by heart and all the rest of it, but also perhaps bring them to a concert and being able to share them with an audience. And then it would feel that, okay, I've done that, I've passed that I crossed that bridge, and now I am able to bring it to a recording studio. But now things go faster, but I do realize that I also improved with experience, and I do feel it's readier earlier on. I don't know. It's just a feeling. This is ready. It feels. I think I know. I notice when physically, it's all very embedded in my gestures. I don't know how to. You're at one with the piece physically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just know that. For me, when I'm recording, classical musicians can be such perfectionists, and you're like, oh, I could get that better, and nothing's ever perfect. And I just was curious how you battle with probably that same feeling.
Yes, exactly. It's a feeling that when you feel physically and also, of course, mentally, but something is almost choreographed and it will just happen. You've learned it well enough, then you do feel it physically.
Yeah. And I guess before we move on to the trivia, any words of wisdom for any men who are approaching music by female composers, since it's something I think that needs to be handled with at least respect?
Yes, well, I don't know if I have a word of wisdom, but I will have a plea of please don't include it as a sort of washing your hands and that's done. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm seeing in lots of colleagues, perhaps in social media, and it is quite frustrating. More and more concerts where, for instance, recently I saw one that the title was something about Clara Schumann, and it didn't have basically no Clara Schumann. It had, I mean, yes, some of the dedications perhaps of Robert and other composers were for Clara, but you shouldn't just use it, the labor that we are all fighting so hard for. I mean, I think it should be a little bit more genuine than that. And that's just an example, but I've seen many programs that will, you know, include just one piece for the sake of it, and then they
it's like checking off a DI
quota. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And from your own point of view, what challenges do you think women still face, and how can men help?
Wow,
it's a big question.
Because I think that's a very sensitive topic. I think if we really look into it, women are still facing those issues in every single aspect. Like no matter how much we improve, and it's nice to be able to recognize improvement and not to demonize people just for. I try to look at things positively, but at the same time, it is quite insulting if you don't admit your own privilege as a male citizen.
And performer.
You know, yeah, exactly. So I just feel humble about it. I don't know. I just do my own thing and try to help, you know.
Yeah, and I that's why I love pretty much what you're doing with your career. I think it's because one of the things I think about Hero and probably other groups like Donna, trying not to make it like a women's club. Like everyone should want to normalize this music, study it, because it has been so underrepresented. And I love what you're doing as with your career and as a performer. I think it's really inspiring for especially a lot of male performers who might think, oh, I'm not allowed to play this music. And I think you're showing them that they can, and that they can do it well, and they can do it with respect and with excitement as well.
Yeah, and then it's important to not pay attention to every comment. Once or twice I've had a couple of responses, you might not believe it, but like saying this video is very good, but actually is filtered by the fact that you are a man, and this was written by a female composer. And that it is frustrating, because when you do put a lot of commitment, as you know, I do, and you know,
I mean, the reason
and it's
why...
not.
Sorry.
Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, the reason why we were trying to, like, you know, put women composers is just to expand the canon. Yeah. It's kind of sad that you get those kind of comments when you're just trying to do it the natural best.
Trying to help us out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah. But so one, I suppose the words of wisdom you were saying earlier, it's to try and, you know, carry on your path and not to pay 100% attention to that kind of thing that will happen anyway. It just happens.
True.
Ignore the haters, honestly.
Haters no matter what.
You don't deserve them. I can tell that you really embody the music. You get excited about it. You do your research, and you're just trying to pay homage to some great music that hasn't been performed. And I totally respect you for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad.
Yes, I love it. All right. So before we end out our little talk today, we have some trivia questions.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, we always try to end on a fun note. So Angela's going to ask you 3 questions and me 3 questions, and we will just see who knows better trivia.
Cool. Who knows their history? Okay. Antonio, question number 1. Who was the pianist who commissioned Ravel for the concerto for the left hand?
Is the guy that lost his left hand in war.
Challenging your piano history.
Oh God, I I feel so unprepared now.
I can give you like a letter hint of his name.
Yes, please.
First letter of his first name is P.
Paul. Yes.
Love you. It's okay. You got. You know it. You so know it.
I know he commissioned several pieces, and then others wrote as well. And obviously, the most successful is the Ravel left-hand concerto. But I feel so bad. It's the tip of my tongue. Sorry.
No, you're good. You got it. I mean, you got Paul, so it is Paul. Wittgenstein.
We'll give it to you.
You got it.
That's so embarrassing.
No.
I have not known things about my own instrument in our past trivia.
Got her one time. It was great. Question number 2. Which female composer began her career as a renowned concert pianist? I'll give you a multiple choice. Was it A, Amy Beach, B, Ethel Smythe, or C, Jennifer Higdon?
I think it's Amy Beach.
It is Amy Beach. Okay. This one is kind of a fun one. I learned about this recently. But question number 3. Which acclaimed composer did Glenn Gould feature in a television broadcast arguing that they were, in fact, a bad composer? Was it...
Oh.
Yeah. Was it A, Mozart, B, Beethoven, or C, Mahler?
Right. Was this Glenn Gould?
Yes.
Mahler?
It was Mozart, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he had this whole presentation about and like excerpts from his music on why it was bad.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
What more you know, I guess.
And this was broadcasted on TV?
On TV.
Wow,
like
he was very passionate.
1960 something.
Oh, wow. There.
Yeah.
That's
A
amazing.
hater of Mozart. So we're all going to get haters, even Mozart.
Yeah.
I know. At least, well, you should, wait when he's alive to defend himself.
True.
Exactly.
I love it.
All right, my turn. You got 2 out of 3.
Woo. All right, Darian. Question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which composer composed Fanfare for the Uncommon Woman, which is a response to Aaron Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man? Multiple choice. A, Joan Tower. B, Jennifer Higdon. C, Julia Wolfe.
Did we just talk about this?
No. No. Well,
Is it Julia Wolfe?
no.
No?
Joan Tower.
Damn.
Yay.
Did you say yay?
I like how he plays. No, this is good.
I just love that piece. I love the piece.
I thought it was Joan Tower, but I thought we just talked about this yesterday, and I was like,
that's where I gotcha.
I know.
Gotcha. All right.
Marin Alsop is programming it with the Copland one, and it really works. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's a great one. Okay. Question number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which composer composed the March of the Women that became an anthem of the suffrage movement? Was it A, Ethel Smythe, B, Charles Ives, C, Clara Schumann?
Ethel Smythe?
Yes.
Yeah. I know my Ethel Smythe.
Oh, I'm proud of you. All right. This one might be hard, might be easy. We'll see. Last question. Julia Wolfe's, we're back on Julia Wolfe.
Okay.
2018 World Fire in My Mouth, the piece depicts which American labor tragedy?
Labor tragedy?
A labor tragedy. It was a labor tragedy around 1911. A hint.
Was it the radium thing? Maybe, because wasn't that during that time?
I think so.
Oh,
Not
shit.
that.
Was it that fire?
I don't know. What was
Yeah, it's the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire of 1911.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, back in the day, bosses, I guess, could lock their workers, and there was a fire, and the women couldn't get out, and so they all
wow.
passed away.
I was trying to think of something that affected women. I know the radium painters, and I was thinking about that.
So Julia Wolfe 2018 World Fire in My Mouth piece.
Well, you won.
Congrats! Yay.
We would have been tied if we didn't give you the first one, but
Yeah, I think it's more of a tie, if we're honest.
I have a tiebreaker. You want a tiebreaker? This one's easy.
Right.
all right, whoever answers first.
Oh gosh. Well, it's Zoom. It's gonna be hard. Okay. Tiebreaker question. Who was an American composer and folk music specialist? Her music was a prominent exponent of emerging modernist aesthetic, and she became a central member of a group of American composers known as the Ultramoderns. No multiple.
Ruth Prosiga.
There you go.
Yeah, he got me.
He knows his stuff.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Congrats.
All right. Well, thank you for doing our Hero Talk trivia with us.
Yes, thank you so much. Congrats.
And I think it's hilarious and fun, but
Yes.
that's just our opinion. But I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully those listening will be excited about seeing Antonio and the Hero Conference.
It'll be very exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet everybody because the biggest joy of all of this is to share this with like-minded people and, so, also young people. This is perhaps not the most appropriate thing, but all the concerts that I give around here, it's amazing, but the audience's average is always so,
Yeah, that's fair.
They're elderly, and it's great to share it with them. And sometimes they come to you and say what a big discovery this was for them at their age. And that's fantastic. And it's a gift for me. But actually to share this with young people like me and, I want to consider myself young. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think
you're
you
young.
seem young at heart, if anything. And you look young, so.
You see what I mean? It's so nice, actually.
Well, we loved having you here, and
Yes.
you're definitely reaching those young people through our podcast. So we are so happy to have you. We're very excited to work with you. Now everyone kind of knows what we've been doing behind the scenes. We've been working with Antonio, setting up for the conference. And if you want to learn more, you can go to our Instagram at hero.musicians or our website, which is www.her-omusic.com. And Antonio, you want to drop your Instagram as well?
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is antonio.oyarzabal, Oyarzabal. Low thingy. How do you say
Underscore?
that? Yeah.
Is that
All right. Well, we will put a link to your socials in the episode description for this coming episode. So we'll direct people to you. Don't worry.
Okay, that's easier.
But we're so excited, and just thank you for your time today, and thank you for talking with us today.